Good afternoon, YouTube, and welcome back to my channel, Bus Trucking. If you guys are new, give the subscribe button a big smash. If you like the videos, give my videos a like, and also press the bell icon, and you'll get notified with upcoming future videos. Now, today's video is about ADR. So, this past week, I have been going on to an ADR course in the hopes of getting my ADR license. Eventually, the dream is to drive petrol tankers, probably petrol tankers. So, on that journey to becoming a petrol tanker, one of the requirements is that I have an ADR license. Right, so there's a number of ways you can get your ADR license. The first one is obviously if you guys are working with a company that already deals with hazardous goods, your company will probably want to put you through the training course. Now, if the company deals with packages only, they'll probably just get you the package part of the ADR license. And vice versa, if your company deals with just tankers, they'll probably just put you through the tanker module. That way, I suppose companies can tie you into working for them. So if you do tankers, they'll put you through the tanker course, but then there's no reason for them to put you through the packages as well. It just doesn't make sense for them. Plus, you're kind of tied into that company then, working on tankers. Now, the other way you can get your ADR license is self-funding it. So you can pay for it yourself. That way, I suppose you can do both the tanks and packages module. Then you're not at least tied into a company somewhere. Then the third way is you can go through the HGV boot camp, where the government funds your course for you on the proviso that you have a job offer from a company. And that's the way I've got my ADR course. So I've gone through the boot camp, so I've not had to pay for this whatsoever, which is obviously a positive for me. Right, so on to ADR itself. Now, ADR comes from a French word, a convoluted way of saying the international agreement concerning the international carriage of dangerous goods by road. Right, on to the content of your ADR course. So if you're doing tanks or packages, your course will be 3 days long, with the 4th day being your exam. Now, if you're doing tanks and packages, your course will be 4 days long, with the 5th day being your exams. In terms of the course, your course content is split up into modules. I think there are 6 modules altogether. So you've got your core module. Then after your core module, you've got packages, and then you've got tanks. So that's 2 more modules. And then your 4th module is your common characteristics. And then your 5th and 6th are Group A classes. That's 2, 3, 6, and 8. And then you've got your Group B classes, which are 4, 5, and 9. Then on your final day, you have your exams. You've got to sit 6 exams if you do your tanks and packages, and then if you're doing tanks or packages, then it's only 5 exams. So day 1 covers your core modules. Now, within that core module, we kind of learned a whole bunch of topics. So, like stuff like who needs an ADR license, how long the ADR license lasts for. Then we looked at kind of like rules and regulations concerning transport of these dangerous goods. So here in the UK, we have our own domestic rules. So we operate under CDG, which is the carriage of dangerous goods by road. Now, if you go international, so if you travel from the UK to Europe or vice versa, you fall under the ADR rules, which is obviously the international agreement concerning dangerous goods by road. And then you have other forms of transport, so like if the package or product travel overseas, they're covered by the IMDG, which is the International Maritime Dangerous Goods Code. And if you have packages traveling overseas by air, they're covered by IATA, which is the International Air Transport Association codes. And then finally, transport by rail, covered by RID, which is regulations concerning the carriage by rail. So those are the kind of like the rules and regulations. We then went on to giving like we learned a brief kind of outlook on what the 9 classes are. We then kind of touched on a bit of the packages module. So we looked at stuff like UN numbers, packaging groups, and then we kind of worked on to looking at kind of tunnel codes. I think we went on to. So we have on your like kind of paperwork, it'll give you tunnel, the tunnel access codes. Like you should have A or a B or a C. That code will basically say you cannot go through a class A tunnel or a class B tunnel or whatever class. There's about 5. Yeah, there's 5 classes of tunnels ranging from A to E. We then looked at security of the load that you're carrying, so high value targets by terrorism, and how to kind of minimize your kind of threat of becoming a victim to terrorism. So we touched on that. And then we also looked at documentation that you need when you're carrying these dangerous products, and also equipment that you will definitely need. Like there's this grab bag that we call it, where you have your shovel, you have your drain covers, and stuff like that. Basically, what you need to carry when you're carrying these dangerous goods. So that was day 1. So on day 2, the morning we spent doing fire safety. So obviously it's a big part of being safe on the road with these dangerous chemicals. You obviously need to know what to do in case there is a fire, how to tackle that fire. Now, the important part is if your load or your product is on fire, you are not supposed to tackle the fire. Now, the fires that we are expected or should tackle, if safe to do so, are your other fires, like if you have a tire fire or something, or there's some small fire in your cab. So those are the fires that we're talking about, not the actual product being on fire. Obviously, that's left for the professionals, your fire services. We then also looked at emergency first aid in the morning. So we cover CPR and mouth to mouth, checking airways and breathing and all that kind of stuff. So that was the morning, so fire safety and first aid. Then in the afternoon, on the second day, we went on to the packages module. Now, we kind of touched in day one about UN codes and packaging groups. In the afternoon of day two, we definitely went into a lot more detail regarding UN packages and how to tell from the codes on boxes and stuff what all them kind of labels mean, and how if you're carrying a dangerous product, they have to be in approved UN packaging. We also then went on to looking at the three different packaging groups, labels 1, 2, and 3 in Roman numerals. So 1 being very dangerous, 2 being of medium danger, and group 3 being low danger. We also went on to look at accepted quantities and limited quantities, where on limited quantities you display a different kind of placard instead of the class placard. So on to day 3. Day 3 was all about the 9 different classes. We touched on it on the first day. We just give a bit of an overview on the first day, but on the third day we went into detail about each of the classes. Class 1, which is your explosives, and class 7, the radioactives, are not covered in this course. They are considered specialist kind of classes, and they each require their own different training. So we covered the remaining classes. The first one being class 2. Class 2 is subdivided into 3 further divisions. Now, the first one being your flammable gases, so stuff like butane and propane, stuff like that. And then your second subdivision is your non-flammable and non-toxic gases, so stuff like nitrogen or carbon dioxide, which is, these are the gases that normally cause asphyxiation. And then the third subdivision is your toxic gases, stuff like chlorine. So that's your gases. So we moved on to class 3, your flammable liquids, like for example petrol, diesel, and acetone. Despite the name flammable liquids, it's not the actual liquid that burns, it's the flammable vapors given off by the product that actually burn. So we kind of looked at different things like flash points, so the temperature at which these liquids ignite. So obviously the lower the flash point, the more volatile and dangerous that substance is, because it can ignite at a lower temperature. We also looked at miscible and immiscible liquids, so stuff like petrol and diesel is immiscible because it does not mix with water. And then we looked at miscible products like acetone. So acetone will readily mix with water. So that was class 3, flammable liquids. Class 4 is flammable solids. This class is then further subdivided into three kind of classes itself. So we've got flammable solids, then we've got spontaneously combusting material, and then we've got dangerous when wet. So in the flammable solids, we looked at stuff like self-reacting substances, polarizing substances, solid desensitized explosives. We also looked at something called SADT, which are self-accelerating decomposing temperatures. We looked at SAPT, which is self-accelerating polymerizing temperatures. We also looked at how some of these products need to be refrigerated as they become unstable if allowed to warm up. Then we went on to spontaneously combusting material, so stuff like phosphorus, which kind of ignites in the presence of air. So we looked at how to store these types of products. So obviously they need to be airtight, or the product is either placed in water or oil to prevent air getting to the product. And then finally, we looked at dangerous when wet products, so stuff that obviously kind of ignites in the presence of water. The common kind of experiment is, well, everyone's probably done this at school, where you place group 1 metals into water and watch them kind of react with the water. So obviously these chemicals need to be in a watertight container. Possibly sometimes they are also carried in grease or in paraffin, so that these chemicals don't come into contact with water. So that's class 4. So on to class 5. So class 5 are the only kind of placards that will have the 5.1 and the 5.2 in the lower half. Now 5.1 is your oxidizing agents. Now these are the substances that can break down quite easily and provide oxygen, and they could generate heat if they are contaminated, and obviously support burning. Now your 5.2 is your organic peroxide. So these are kind of the unstable products that contain both fuel and oxygen. So if you remember the fire triangle, so you only got two of the 3 products from that in your organic peroxides. Also with the organic peroxides, we looked at control temperatures and emergency temperatures, because obviously these kind of chemicals in the 5.2 would have to be, some of them would have to be temperature controlled. So we looked at that as well. So that was class 5, your oxidizing chemicals. So on to class 6. So class 6 are subdivided into 2 categories. You have your toxic substances, and then you have your infectious substances. So with your toxics, we looked at possible entry points. So we looked at the fact they could be either ingested, inhaled, absorbed by the skin, and we kind of looked at the causes. Basically, they can cause like some serious harm to your health, can cause injuries, and in the worst case they can cause death. So we looked at kind of like the effects. So we looked at acute effects. So these will be like your quick acting, and they tend to be kind of quite severe. And then we looked at chronic effects, so stuff that may not be quite severe at the beginning, but over the build up of time they kind of do cause some some damage. So that was your toxics. Then also within class 6, there's the infectious substances. So these are kind of substances that can cause like diseases and stuff. They normally kind of include medical specimens. You've got clinical waste from like medical centres and hospitals, your dental practices and stuff like that. They are kind of split into two categories, A and B. So your category A, kind of infectious substances, when exposure does occur, they can cause kind of like permanent disabilities, life-changing, or even fatal injuries, basically. So like, for example, the Ebola virus is one, the African swine fever virus is another. And then category B, these are the kind of infectious substances that kind of don't fall into category A. So that's your infectious substances. Right, on to class 8, corrosive substances. So these are substances that can, by chemical reaction, cause irreversible damage to your skin if you come in contact with these kind of materials. So it's probably a good time to mention at this point that the corrosives tend to have a subsidiary hazard associated to this class. Now, our tutor mentioned it as the family of 3. So you've got your corrosives, and then within that family you also got inflammables, and you've got your toxics. So within the corrosives, we kind of looked at acids and alkalis, which are kind of chemical opposites, and how they should not be mixed together if they are in concentrated, basically, because they will react quite violently. So finally, class 9. Class 9 is your miscellaneous. So these are the kind of like the substances which obviously present a danger to people and the environment, but they are not classed, or they're not covered under the other classes. So that's basically class 9. The only new thing with the class 9 is the addition of another kind of like a subcategory. This is your 9A. So this kind of relates to your lithium batteries, basically. So that's probably the only new thing. If you've not done your ADR license recently, that's kind of a new addition to the classes. So you've got a 9 and 9A. And the final thing we just wanted to mention when we mention these classes is the additional markings. 2 of particular note. There's elevated temperature marking, where if you're carrying let's say really hot products, you would display this mark. The other mark is environmentally hazardous substances. So you've got your little tree with the fish falling out of the tree sign. So that's that. 2 extra markers I just wanted to mention as well. So day 4 we covered tankers. So we looked at fixed vehicles, fixed tank vehicles. Obviously these are vehicles with the tanker fixed to the actual vehicle, so you can't actually take it apart. And then we looked at tank containers. These are like where the tank can be removed from the actual let's say the cab and the wheelbase. So like your ISO containers. So that type of stuff. So we looked at the two different methods of loading. So we looked at top loading and bottom loading. So top loading would be where you would let's say connect the hose to the top of the tank, through the manhole into the tanker itself. So you load that way. Then we looked at bottom loading, where you connect pipes to somewhere on the bottom. There'll be like valves and stuff. So you connect through there, through the bottom. Then we looked at methods of unloading your tank. There are three methods. We looked at gravity discharge, pressure discharge, and pump discharge. Now, we also looked at when unloading, you must decompress your tank. Otherwise, well, the results can be rather kind of fantastic for the wrong reasons. Then we also looked at earthing. So also you would earth your vehicle if you were doing stuff like petrol deliveries, where you're dealing with quite flammable liquids. So obviously if you earthed your vehicle, you would take away kind of any kind of ignition sources that might have built up through static when loading and unloading and stuff like that, or from your clothing as well. So that would discharge the vehicle and make sure there's no kind of ignition sources on that. We also talked about valves, how they allow air to either pass one way or the other. We also looked at stuff like your gauges. So you've got like pressure gauges, your temperature gauges, just to kind of regulate how you discharge or regulate the temperature within the tanks. We also talked about how there are numerous types of tankers. So they're not all the same. Each will have kind of their own different designs depending on the product they will be carrying. So the best way to go about this is kind of like make sure you are fully trained on the particular tank that you might be driving on that particular day. So if your company has different products that it ships out, they might have different tankers. So you got to obviously make sure you are fully trained before you operate these tankers. So that was day 4. So that's basically all of the ADR course content. So an overview, day 1 was the core module. Day 2 was split into 2. So the morning was fire safety and first aid, with packages in the afternoon. Day 3 was all about the classes, in-depth kind of going into in-depth basically about all the classes. And then day 4 was all about tankers. Then the only thing remaining is now the exams, which is day 5 on your final day. So on day 5, you'll be sitting either 5 exams if you are not doing tankers. If you are doing tankers, that will be 6 exams. So like I think I've mentioned before, the first exam is your core module. You get 40 minutes to do 25 questions. Then you've got packages, which is 25 minutes. Then you've got 15 questions. Then you've got your common characteristics. You've got half an hour to do 20 questions. In your Group A classes, you've got 55 minutes to do 36 questions, and then your Group B classes, which is 40 minutes, and you've got 24 questions. Now, all the exams are 4-choice, multiple choice basically questions. So one of the 4 options will be the answer. Usually, you'll have 2 answers which are ridiculous, so you can kind of like basically rule them out straight away, and then the remaining 2 options will be one of them will be the right answer. So in terms of the exams, how hard are they? They are not that hard actually. In fact, they're quite easy. You're not supposed to be like a chemist or anything. You aren't kind of expected to have prior knowledge of the chemicals or how they react, or how to kind of like how to handle them in emergencies and stuff like that. We got this kind of course booklet. Now everything's in this kind of booklet. It's not really that thick if you have a look at it. There's about 60 odd pages. All the information's in there. During the course, obviously I'll be reading this whilst I'm in the course, but I'm not really doing any kind of additional learning whilst I'm at home or anything like that. So in terms of how difficult they are, I'll probably say it's on the kind of easier side. Also, if you do have some prior science knowledge, it would be advantageous for your exams. Also, you can take your notes, well, this booklet basically, you can take it to the exam, but also you can't refer to it, so it's not an open book exam. But in between each exam, you do get a break. It's normally 5 minutes, but for example, if you do the core module exam first, you get 40 minutes to do 25 questions. You probably don't need all that time. So let's say, for example, you finish the exam early, you can leave the exam room, and in between from you finishing the first exam to your next exam, you can go out to the exam room and just kind of like read up on this. So yeah, you do get breaks with your exam, usually 5 minutes, probably longer, because if you finish early, you can leave the exam room and have a break. So yeah, that's your ADR course, all kind of packaged up. Just to kind of let you guys know, you do get your exam results straight away, usually within 5 minutes of you finishing your exam. So they'll probably call you in one by one and tell your results there and then. So if you've passed, brilliant, you can just go off. If you do fail any of the modules, you can resit them straight away. So if you fail your packages module, you can resit it. So you get 1 resit on that day per module. So at least if you do fail a particular module or multiple modules, you can resit them on that same day. We only get 1 chance to resit each module. If you fail it again, then you will have to come and rebook for your exam on a different date. So good news, obviously I did the ADR course and I passed the exam, all of the modules first time, so I didn't have to do any resits whatsoever. So brilliant. That was the ADR. If you enjoy the video, do give us a big like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so previously, click that notification bell, and yeah, you'll get notifications for when there are new videos to the channel. So yeah, thanks for watching, and see you guys in the next video.